guys. I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys about your experiences over the last 12 months with obviously the COVID-19 and how it's affected your kind of area of work. So if I start with you, Chris, because obviously it's had a bit of an impact with you, kind of how Primary Stars runs and kind of what you've done to overcome that. Yeah, absolutely. So obviously COVID's had pretty big impacts for everyone. The department I work in, Primary Stars and primary education, we work almost exclusively within primary schools. So as you know, that's been quite heavily affected by COVID. We've had school closures, we've had purely key worker staff in, we've had periods where it's more back to normal. But all the way through, the schools have really been considering, rightly so, sort of the safety element and who they have coming into the school and things like that. So that's just made it quite difficult for us as a sort of provider to go into schools, which is how we normally deliver. So the big switch for us has been we've had to do a massive transition to sort of remote delivery, online learning, and basically just trying to do the same things that we were doing but remotely, which is a big challenge. We've adapted reasonably well, but it's not always easy when you're sort of trying to arrange everything over email with schools rather than just a conversation when you get in the morning. So it has been a challenge, not going to lie. There's lots of different bits to it, but it's not been easy. So how is that kind of, not going into too much detail, it's up to you, but how has that affected you personally, like your it's really weird, because normally sort of our normal, you guys know as well, like our day to day is pretty much you start and you're on your feet for a lot of the day, even if you've got tasks that you have to do sort of on your laptop at your desk. Generally there's a lot of activity, you're going from place to place, sometimes going to 3 or 4 different sessions a day, and for that to suddenly come to a grinding halt is really strange, and it's tough to adapt to. I think I'm quite an active person, so going to suddenly working in my miniature office here is not really natural. It's not what I'm used to. It's not what I like doing. So to get into the routine of work, but not what I'm used to, is quite difficult. That's probably been the biggest challenge for me. And have you found that it's affected your mental health at all, or? Yeah, I've been really up and down, like not like critically bad. Like I know obviously lots of people struggle with their mental health, some more than others. I'm normally quite consistent. I'm very aware of my mental health, and I do think about it. But I've noticed since this lockdown, I've had days where I've not wanted to do anything. It's taken half an hour to even get out of bed to make a cup of tea or coffee. But I've had some days where I think, yeah, right, I'm going to be productive, and I almost overdo it. Like I'll spend so much time, I'll really focus on something, I'll really throw everything at it, and then the next day I'll be right down again. So it's been really hard to sort of balance my emotions a little bit. So it's been a challenge. All right, okay. And putting you on the spot here, if you had any tips, like 2 tips that you could give someone that's probably going through the same process as you to be kind of productive and look after their mental health, what would those 2 tips be? So this is something that I'm sure loads of people have made this point, but a routine for me has been massive. Just trying to make sure that even if I do, so it can be something really small, like making sure I have a cup of coffee at the same time in the morning, just to make sure I'm up and doing something. Because if you're only sort of working 2-3 hours a day on sort of partial furlough, why do I need to get up at 9? Why can't I get up at 10, get up 11? Whereas if you have a sort of set routine, then I think that's really important. And the second thing is make the most of the exercise and active time that you can have. I had to self-isolate recently, thankfully didn't have any symptoms or anything, but I really missed sort of even just going out for a walk or going for a run. Like I really missed that. So having got out of isolation has sort of shone a light on how important that fresh air, that active time has been. I don't think those are groundbreaking tips, but I'd stand by them. No, it's very good. Thank you, Chris. So now moving on to kind of you, Richard, if you don't mind. It's like obviously COVID has changed the way you guys work, but you're very much doing the work that you do every day. how much of an impact has COVID had on your kind of department and the children that you see?
For us in inclusion, COVID has obviously played a part in what we can and can't do. We don't have any post-16 students in at the moment due to the government rules. So all of our post-16 are all online. So for some of those guys, they would be struggling a lot more than some of the students we have that are allowed to come in. Especially the students we have who are more vulnerable, who are post-16. Some of those guys do need extra support. So for those, it's more phone calls as well as their online lessons. For our younger students in alternative provision, they're in still. So from January 5th, they've been back in, and this is as busy as it normally is on a normal day-to-day for us. We've got some students who are not here just because they're obviously isolating, or because their parents feel that it's still not safe for them to go out, or they're not in their normal school, so this is an additional school they can't do, or they can't go from here back into a school bubble. So we've got a mix of students who can't do that. So, but overall, there's a lot of students here at the moment. There's a lot of students who need support, and our normal day-to-day running of everything is still going. So the RAP provision is really doing a lot of good work. The kick sessions are not on at the moment, but Paul's worked really hard to get the online sessions going. There's currently, I think, around 15 gaming sessions a week at the moment, which are really, they've proven really popular, and they're really helping children again in this lockdown period. And obviously we've got the online sessions, which obviously everybody across the whole trust is doing, which looks like it's going really well at the moment. I mean, the first video had over 2,000 views, I think. So there's quite a lot of children doing that, and there's children posting videos back to us, the stuff that they're doing and they're copying. So it's really good to see a different range of staff taking part in the videos. So it's not the same person each week. So it's good, and it gives the children a chance to obviously interact with us at the football club and see that we are still trying to do some positive things in the community.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. Have you kind of seen or felt that children's mental health has changed? The children you see, has that COVID had much of an effect on their mental health?
Yeah, I think for some children it's been a real bad period, obviously, where they've had to stay at home, and while they're at home, there is a parent working at home or so, and the other parent might be at work, and that children isn't getting enough of their time that they normally get. The case that children can't see other children and they miss their friends, or even missing their other families or cousins if they're the same sort of age and things like that. So for children, I think it's had a real big effect. I don't think we'll see the effects of this until another year's time, when hopefully the virus starts to disappear, we hope. I think that's when we're going to see a change, because when children now have to go back into school environments and anxiety kicks in, and social streams become a lot harder for children to talk, I think that's going to cause a big issue around sort of the country, I think. So at the moment, hopefully most of the children are doing as well as they can. There's a lot of obviously really good education stuff online, especially like BBC and the schools platforms and what they're doing. So hopefully children can come out of this, the other end, and get back into a normal routine, as Chris was saying. And I think once you get into those routines, the mental health for most of the children will then hopefully start to disappear as well.
Right, that's hopefully it disappears quite soon, and we can get back to some kind of new normal. In terms of like working with the children, have you seen an impact on the impact it's had on your staff? Has it had an impact at all, or
has it had an impact on the staff? Over here, probably not so much. The staff here have done really well. They're all working all the time. I'm sure if everyone had the opportunity to work every day, then the whole trust would be in working every day if we could. No one wants to really sit at home and not be able to access and do things that we want to do across the whole trust. So I think the staff here are grateful. I think they can be in work, for one, which is a really positive thing. And I think they're grateful that they can make a difference still during this period. Because it is difficult to, try not to be able to help people when you want to do that, especially if you even going out, I think to neighbours and things like that. If you're not allowed to go and do that sort of thing to help, I think that can be a real challenge. But most of the staff here, all including the RAP and alternative provision staff, they've done really well, during the periods of lockdown. They're sort of abiding by the rules, and team has set some quite high rules in here and standards for what they have to go by in terms of what we need to do to keep ourselves open and making sure that everybody's safe. So I think everybody's brought into it up here, and at the moment it seems to be going really well.
Oh no, that's good to hear. Let's hope that kind of it carries on being as safe as it can be, and we still can make that positive impact on those children we're seeing. So going from you, Richard, thank you very much. I'll go on to Leigh, because like Leigh, unfortunately, is on a kind of different spectrum in terms of you've been furloughed and stuff. So I wanted to kind of have a chat with you around kind of what the last couple of months has meant for you and how it's been for you, really. So if you could kind of talk about that, Leigh, that'd be superb.
Yeah, obviously the department working is in after schools. That got shut in March. We did go back in July for we had 2 or 3 weeks before we stopped again, and we started the centres again in late September. So going from nothing to actually looking forward to doing something was big, was massive for me, and that kind of gave me a little bit of focus to plan and get ready for that. And then obviously we had to stop again in October, end of October, November time. I think the biggest thing kind of got me out, it was the constant communication with people. It was talking to people from work. Certainly during the first lockdown, it was the weather was better, so it's quite nice actually. You could go and sit in the garden, or you could go for a walk. And then we was going out doing the food deliveries and getting ready for summer, trying to plan for the summer holiday camps.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, we had to change the model of that and how we did it. So instead of having all age groups at one time, we had mine's just come up. I've got 5 minutes left. Sorry, and yeah, so sorry. What was I saying? Yeah, coming back from that. So we had only one age group in the morning, and then another age group in the afternoon, which was a completely new way of that I've been doing it in the last 8-9 years. I've been there sort of part time. I've been at the trust part time and full time. But I think seeing the children were grateful that they were out. The parents were thankful that we was actually trying to do something for the kids, which was really nice. But yeah, up until we did that in, I think, the last week of July, we went back and did that. But from March till July, it was kind of similar to what Chris said earlier, just trying to keep yourself busy, right. Which the weather helped because you could do stuff.
Yeah.
But certainly, yeah, and the unknown of it, and that not having a date of coming back was the worst thing. It was kind of like, yeah, we could be back next week, could be back next week, could be back, and it just kept getting pushed back.
Yeah.
Kind of effect. I think that kind of affected me quite a lot personally.
Okay.
Kind of getting ready for, you get told, yeah, okay, you got 2 weeks, and then we'll be back. So you kind of psych yourself up and get yourself ready to start, and then get told, actually, no, it's another couple of weeks off, which was very difficult.
I imagine so. So if there was one thing that you could say that you're looking forward to when we all go back to normal, what would it be?
I think it's the social side of the office, actually seeing people and sort of talking to parents again, seeing coaches, seeing parents, going to different sites, and actually, it sounds really stupid, but putting my work clothes on. It sounds really trivial, but just putting my work clothes on and taking that route that I've been doing for however long along the road, moaning about the traffic, phoning you in the morning because there's an accident somewhere, and just silly things like that. But yeah, certainly. But no, just the general like social of the office, actually chatting to people and seeing what people have done at the weekend or what they've been doing, and just silly little things, really.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's pretty much the same with me. It's like you said, it's the social aspect of it, and kind of doing that. So that kind of leads me on to kind of Dave now, like in terms of you as the manager of the scheme, Dave, how have you found it? How have you kind of guided us through the last 12 months, and what impact has it had on you?
It helps having obviously good staff. So, you know, you obviously spoke to Richard. Richard manages his department, and he sees that's kept going. We've got very good trustees as well, so they've been in touch with me. So through the first lockdown, they were in touch with me every week. Then we would once every 2 weeks. Now we're back to once a month. So they've always kept in contact, ringing me up, asking how I am, how is the scheme going. We've done a lot of forecasting, understanding the furlough system, so making sure we utilise that as much as we can. Understanding Richard briefly spoke about it, about what we can and can't do. Wear masks, not wear masks, wash hands, not wash hands, socially distance, how are we going to do that with kids? With the soccer courses, we went there, me and Leigh and Tina, to do the plan of the risk assessments and everything else. And when we did the development centres, so it's just making sure because government guidelines change so much, I feel really bad talking to staff. So staff say to me, Dave, what do we have to do? And it changed. We went from tier 3 to tier 5 in a matter of 3 or 4 weeks. You know, so it just changes like that, and that's the hardest part about it, is just making sure you're flexible enough to change with the times. And then with the first furlough, we did the quiz nights. So Keith and Richard put a quiz night on, and we were all on the quiz nights. We all met up together. We were all talking, having a drink, and via Teams or Zoom, and that kept everybody together. And I think that constant communication for me is really important. So I speak to people on an individual basis, and then we might have a Teams call, or we might, speak. I'll see Richard on a day-to-day basis as well, and some of the staff. So that's, trying to keep to normality to me is really important, because I'm a regular person that has to have a routine like Leigh. I have to come in at a certain time. I go at a certain time. I go home. Obviously, I've got 4 children and a wife, so it's busy at home as well. But it's the impact I think it's the indirect impact it has on you. My father-in-law passed away, so it's that impacts on you as well, the funeral and what happens. Those kind of things through COVID isn't easy. It's not easy anyway. It makes it even more harder during these times, So you talk about the mental, the mental side of it. I think having been manager for like 20 odd years, mentally you get quite tough. And like I said, with the support from yourself, with the staff and the trustees, it's made my work a lot easier. And you've got support from the football club, you've got the EFLC, you've got the PLCF, you've got the Premier, the PFA have been really good. So there are support mechanisms there. But it's tough. I walk through the office sometimes and I'm on my own in this office, and I'm not the bravest. So if I hear a noise like that, I'm like that. to keep all the lights on. I can't turn the lights off because I just get scared. But it's just not like Leigh said. It's maybe the banter, the camaraderie. We're all kind of social people, and that's why we're in this kind of industry for, because we all care and we like to be together and we like to speak to each other, and we're team people. We work in a team. We don't work in isolation very well, and I think that's the hardest part. Is obviously Richard's got his team up there still, so that's nice that they can bounce off each other. And I think that's why it's important to speak to people individually, on a regular basis, because you don't want them to feel they're on their own, So it's impacting on a lot of ways, but I think there are some positives to come out of it as well.
So, okay, that leads me nicely to my next question for you then, Dave. If you could list one positive that's come out of the last 12 months for you, what would it be?
I think you see the goodness in people. I think you see the people that are willing to pull together. Like we did the food donations, and like I know Richard and Keith and other people also were going and getting food for people, helping people. And that's kind of what it's all about at the end of the day. It's we help kids, we help different people. You were ringing up, the friends of the elderly, taking a gentleman out who had dementia so his wife could have respite. Those are kind of things that you see are like your nuggets, your things that you should be doing. And when we do our normal jobs, we kind of don't do enough of that. We just do our jobs. Although we help people anyway, But I think the food donations, when we did those, were really good. And I know, Richard, you went out and did some shopping for people as well, didn't you? You and Keith, and that's going to be, you know, that's, you know, we're a community trust, and there has to be a community feel to what we do. Yeah. And I feel that if we can help people and bring that community kind of atmosphere back, that's the one thing that this has enabled us to do. And I think that's a part of all the negatives that we've got, which we've all got. I think that's been a real plus to me, definitely.
Oh, brilliant, guys! Well, thank you for your time. As I said earlier, this is all for the Time for Change Day and Time to Talk Day, and kind of discussing it. So thanks for taking 10 minutes out, kind of talking about kind of what the last 12 months has been for you, and hopefully the information that we've shared can help. Even if it helps that one individual tomorrow when it goes on our social media, that's good. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you for your time. Yeah, hopefully see you soon, not virtually.
Yeah.
Cheers, Dan.
Cheers.